Okay, guys, I am back, and I'm back with the legend that is Gareth Roberts from the iconic Anfield Wrap. Gareth, it's absolutely great to have you. It's been a while, but how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. You know, cracking on, still going. Thanks for having us on, mate. Always a pleasure.
It's always great having you on. I always get great feedback from having you on, especially your absolute legend. Fair play to you. We're going to have a nice little short, sharp chat here about the Reds, because that's the reason we're really on. But before we get into the Reds and the Irish tour for the Anfield Wrap, of course, in 2 weeks' time, we'll have a little chat about Chelsea, the breaking news of Abramovich, or whatever you call him, the oligarch, actually, what we will call him, actually. Assets frozen. I think it was on the cards anyway since last week. But I think it opens up a bigger chasm, let's say, in the Premier League and world football, with state ownership of clubs and the likes of Newcastle with Saudi Arabia as well. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it just sort of, it's something we've talked about a lot on the Anfield Wrap over the years about, who do you truly want owning your club? And I know, and I've heard some Liverpool fans say things like, I don't care who owns the club. I just want success. And for me, that's not quite right. That has never sat well with me since Hicks and Gillette as well. And you think about the awful times we went through with that. Football's meant to be fun, and I think for it to be fun and for you to be happy about who's owning your club, it needs to be someone with some morals, basically somebody who fits in with the sort of standards of the club and what the club's about, and cares a little bit about the community that it's situated in. And look, we've had our ups and downs with FSG, haven't we? But I think stuff like this really puts it into context around it sounds Chelsea have had some successful times, but that legacy of what they won under I can't say it myself now. That's you, Danny. I used to be able to say his name before I come on this.
Roman.
His legacy is now hugely tainted by this situation, and a situation that looks really, really dark for Chelsea. In terms of all the stuff that's coming out today around. They're not going to be able to renew contracts for players, and players are, whose contract is up, just going to be able to walk through the door and go off into the distance and find someone else. And it sounds incredibly grim, but it is back to that thing, careful what you wish for, really. And you mentioned Newcastle as well. It doesn't sit right with me, really, the whole thing. I mean, all of a sudden now it's he's subject to these sanctions, and therefore Chelsea are subject to these sanctions. But, what are we saying here? Is it okay to bomb Yemen? But, and we just let that go. But, meanwhile, if it's Ukraine, well, now we've got something to say about it because it's more Western. That's a little bit grim in itself. And look, we talk for years about the idea that, there should be proper, and I mean proper, tests.
Due diligence.
Proper due diligence for people who are allowed to run football clubs. And there should be something set in stone that sort of makes sure that they can't be ripped apart and turned into something else, or their futures put unnecessarily at peril. We've seen it over and over again, and even now it's still not there. It's still not there, and it's still not right. And I think it needs government's intervention. I mean, it's government's intervention that's created this situation with Chelsea, and you see the language around that, and they're talking about clubs being at the centre of communities, and some of the stuff that I'm talking about. And it's like, well, that's great, but where were you previously? Why haven't you done something about this before? Because
it takes a war. It takes a war in Europe to start.
Because we've talked for years about the ownership model in Germany, and how the fans there have been allowed to protect their football clubs a little bit more. Albeit that, as usual, certain clubs and certain owners have tried to circumnavigate the rules, and that will always be the case. But it just feels to me there should be something a bit more in place that protects clubs for situations like this. But equally, the people at the top and the fans can play a part in this as well. Careful what you wish for, careful what you want. It shouldn't all just be about, well, this is the richest person, or this is the richest body of people that have come in and are making an offer. Because I mean, there must be a few sets of fans now shuffling uncomfortably in the seats. You mentioned Newcastle, but even Man City. I mean, you do your digging around their ownership, and you very soon arrive at some grim places as well. So, yeah, it's it's a shame for me that we so often are talking about stuff like this. We should be talking about football.
Yeah, no.
And one of the things that I've noticed sort of, post, I mean, I know coronavirus is still with us, but post lockdown certainly and things like that is, it feels to me like more people are gravitating a bit more towards grassroots. Like you're seeing bigger attendances at non-league games, certainly locally in Liverpool and
women's games and stuff like that.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And I just wonder whether people are searching for something that feels a little bit more pure and feels a little, are people sort of, I'm not sure about the Premier League now, or I'm not sure about the very top of football, because it's always all about money and it's always a little bit grim. And sometimes it's quite nice to just go to a game on a Saturday or a Sunday and have a pint with your mates and it feel a little bit more romantic and closer to what it should be.
No, you're absolutely right. But unfortunately, it's all about the Benjamin Franklins, isn't it? At the top. Yeah. It's all about the money, And as you say, look, FSG, we get back onto Liverpool because that's the reason we're here, I suppose. I mean, we are in a great place at the moment. We have a League Cup in the back pocket, quarterfinals of the FA Cup, quarterfinals of Champions League, and we have a chance for the league. But you still get the moaning. You still get the Twitter, TikTok boys. I mean, when are they ever going to be happy, Gareth?
I think
they're happy when we're losing. I think
you just have to accept, don't you, that some people never are happy, basically. Yeah. No matter what goes on, they want more. They want, more players signed, or they want this, or there's always something, and it's not realistic. Look, what are we on? 44 games played this season, three defeats. And the one against Inter Milan, okay, it's disappointing to lose the home record in that manner. We were 28 unbeaten, spanning back over a year and all that kind of stuff. But I think Klopp said it himself, if you're going to lose any game, we'll lose one where it doesn't really matter. And it didn't really matter. I mean, there's little bits and bobs, I think, in there that, you can have some concerns about, the form of Mo Salah in front of goal. Jota also's in a little bit of a mini drought. But then you've got Diaz and you've got Mane and you've got, we've got a side and a squad packed with stars. You mentioned we've already won a cup. We've got 3 more to aim at. We've got a realistic crack at the league. We're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League and the FA Cup. This is unprecedented stuff. Even the great Liverpool sides of the 70s and the 80s didn't reach this point in the season where they could win the lot. Yeah. So, this should be a time, as you're saying, where we're absolutely rejoicing at all. And look, so I don't mind when some people, will pick out an individual match and say, someone could have done a little bit better, or I'm a little bit concerned about this. But as you say, it's hard with social media. And I mean, it's a wider conversation, but, I've started to limit my time on those platforms a bit now, because I just think, you will always fall into a cesspool eventually if you scroll too much during the day. And, I think as time goes on and society moves on, I think there will be lots more chat about use of social media, how much we use it, how much we pay attention to it and things like that. I think right now it's a little bit unregulated and a little bit mad, but as time goes on, I think there'll be more and more studies saying it's not good for the soul.
Yeah, it'll get reeled in, I think. Before we go on talking about the tour, the Anfield Wrap Irish tour, up and coming in 2 weeks' time, I want to talk about one player, Luis Diaz, the Colombian maestro. What? I mean, the boost in January, you seen, as we're talking about social media, you seen the boost on social media. It was literally someone throwing cans of Red Bull at you and drinking it there and then. People were just exploding with energy. I have energy. I was exploding with energy, especially in January. But what do you think of this guy? He looks a player.
Yeah, he looks the real deal, doesn't he? I mean, I think, a lot of players that Liverpool have gone for, I mean, some of them were ready-made, the likes of Van Dijk and the likes of Alisson and things like that. But other players have come in and we've got used to this idea, haven't we, of, it'll take time for them to pick up the pace of what Klopp wants from them and that kind of thing. And you're like, oh yeah, we might see him in fits and starts, but we're not going to see him every week. I mean, this fella's decided, that's not for him. He wants in right now. He wants to start right now. He wants to score right now. He wants to assist right now. He's absolutely spamming those no-look passes, isn't he? Even when it's totally unnecessary, but we love him for it anyway. And I was just reading some stats on the show we've just done before this one about how many dribbles he's doing and how successful he is at it, how many chances he's creating. Since he's been at Liverpool, he's right up there with Trent in terms of the number of chances he's creating per game. Honestly, he's not too far off. So it's it's a great impact from him. You know, we're talking here ahead of the Brighton game, and you know, some people have got a little bit of trepidation about that one, the kickoff time, and Liverpool's recent record against Brighton, and of course we drew 2-2 with them at Anfield in October. But I think if you're unleashing Diaz on him, you know, they're not going to be very happy. He didn't come on till the 83rd minute against Inter Milan the other night, so that felt to me like, you know, they were saving him for Brighton. And even he was only on the pitch, 7 minutes, and he could have scored a goal. So that shows you know, the impact of him. You can tell as well that, you know, the other lads as well are absolutely made up that he's part of the squad. He's got this real tenacity about him. He works incredibly hard, but then he's got the skill alongside it. He's got the showboat, and he can go past a man both ways easily. He's got all kinds of finishes in his locker as well. And yeah, he looks absolutely fantastic, and we're going to have good times watching this fella.
Yeah, no, I'm delighted with him. As I say, it was a huge boost for us in January. I really do, and I'm hoping that, you know, I think he'll start against Brighton the weekend. I really do. I think he starts. But the Anfield Wrap are coming to Ireland. Obviously, you didn't have them last year because of COVID and stuff like that. I was actually at your show in 2020, February 20. I think it was late February, just before COVID hit in Dublin, and it was a great show. For people that haven't been to an Anfield Wrap live show, what can they expect?
Yeah, it's just about having a laugh. Look, I mean, of course, we do talk about the football, and we throw some games in here and there, and you know, we ask for questions from the audience and things like that. But it's not a live podcast. It's not people sitting around in a circle in chairs with you know, with a microphone in the middle. It's a bit more of a party atmosphere. It's meant to be a good crack. And most people say that it is exactly that. And we always have a good time in Ireland. That's why as soon as, you know, restrictions were lifted again and we were able to travel, one of the first things we said is, well, let's get ourselves back to Ireland, because we've always had fantastic times there, both in the north and in the south. You know, the last time I was over there, you know, I was in Cork. Absolutely loved it down there. I've been to Dublin before, Belfast. You know, we've been all over, Galway as well. And this time as well as Belfast, you know, going up to Warren Point before they get to Belfast. I'm not actually going myself, but I know that in the office the lads are all talking about it. We're all buzzing for it. The tickets have been selling well as well. And yet, you know, we all sort of know what we're doing with it now. I mean, once upon a time when we very first did our very first live show, which was in Ireland.
Bray, wasn't it? Bray.
Yeah. The Bray 500. For the 500 people who went to that show.
Wow.
And that, you know, that was fantastic as well. We had, honest to God, we still talk about that show now. But, you know, when we were going down there to do it, we were, you know, there was nerves among us, and we were like, well, what are we doing here? A live show of the Anfield Wrap? Really? Does that work? And look, I think some people will still look at it and say that now, but it does work, and it is a laugh. And, you know, we've been 2 or 3 times to, you know, certain places, and you'll see the same faces again. I know you're going down, Dave, and I've seen your face at live shows in the past. So, you know, we must be doing something right if people keep coming back. It's a laugh around Liverpool. It's a celebration of Liverpool. And ultimately, it's like-minded people in a room having a laugh, having a good time, having a good Friday or Saturday night, whatever it may be. So, they're a good crack, the live shows.
No, I love them. I've been at a few of them. I've actually been at one of your shows in Liverpool, your end-of-season show, 2019. Oh, yeah. Just before we won the Champions League, and that was great crack, because we had just the next day, I think we were playing Wolves the next day.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
that was Wolves, the last game of the season. But we just got into the final with that famous 4-0, which everybody remembers. So the atmosphere, we were singing the Bobby song on the steps outside. After.
That
was one of the best nights, absolutely. And if you like a few beers, even if you like a lemonade, I suppose it doesn't really matter, but a few beers helps. I think it's absolutely great. It's great crack. But Gareth, I think we leave it there. I've absolutely enjoyed it, as usual. Pity you're not coming over for a beer, but I'm sure we'll get you again. We'll get you again for a beer.
Yeah, I'll be over. Don't worry. You don't get rid of me that easily.
We'll get rid of you then. Thank you very much. The Anfield Wrap, as usual, guys. Absolute legends. 2 weeks' time to come into Ireland. Tickets, I still think are selling. They're selling fast, so Eventbrite are doing it. So get on Eventbrite. Check out the Anfield Wrap. So it's a Warren Point, Belfast, 24th, 25th in the north, 26th Dublin, 27th Cork in March. So 2 weeks from today, basically. Yeah. Enjoy it. Stay safe. Gareth, thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Dave.